During the production of Daredevil Born Again, there was discussion and development on taking the Punisher and Echo and having the two spend a night together in New York doing their own ops and, well, fighting crime. At some point during development and when the series went in a different direction, this was ultimately scrapped, but it sounds pretty cool. So here's an interesting bit of info we recently got. So as part of the original run-up to Daredevil Born Again, which was going to be 18 episodes, we learned that in the early development stages of when they were working on it, there was a plan to have a story where the Punisher and Echo spent what they called a interesting night together. Now, a lot of people have already overblown this or not read the context of it. No, not love interests. No, they were going to be somehow involved in a parallel running concurrent story that dealt with something happening in New York. Now, this episode was ultimately scrapped when they did the whole revamp because it didn't fit the way that the show was going and they couldn't take time away for one episode to tell this story. Which, again, makes sense because it went from 18 episodes down to less than 10. So, it's interesting to see that this was planned because there's a natural story that unfolds here. Frank Castle has unfinished business with Wilson Fisk. Echo has unfinished business with Wilson Fisk. And we've heard that they want to do some of the stuff in the comics where Punisher is obviously going after Wilson Fisk, but he's sort of butting heads with Daredevil, which clearly they're doing. But then also Echo is sort of working with Daredevil, and that's a playback on what we saw in Echo with her fighting him off screen during the Netflix series, which they show us that angle. So I think this kind of would have been really interesting to see and explore. But then again, I get it. You don't want to take time away from the main story and the main characters. It's sort of like the Book of Boba Fett, which, one, I'm not a big fan of. Two, they just straight up stole episodes that could have further fleshed out that world in Boba Fett and just said, yeah, let's just bring Grogu back to Mando because people aren't going to care about Mando without Baby Yoda. And then they sacrificed the quality of the Book of Boba Fett to bend over backwards and do all this other junk. I can see why this was scrapped, and ultimately, I'm going to say it was probably a good idea. Probably a good idea. Now, I do want them to get back to this because there's a great concept in there with both of them teaming up, sort of going after Fisk and some of his goons out there trying to ruin everything. That's a cool story. I would love to see that, but save that for down the road, you know? Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.